Ready?
All right.
Our family. You good? Welcome to our corner. Week to week we'll be doing good, very important topics to black people. Now the one we're going to tackle recently, there's a brother in the States, he went by the name of Michael Nowak, Brother Polight. Unfortunately, he's been arrested, well, fortunately he's been arrested for touching a minor, indecent behaviors and actions towards a minor, and now he's been locked up for 7 years, I believe, right? So the question we're asking is, as black men, how do we protect black women, from, or just black women and children, or black people, black youth in general, from predators, right? As black men, as the leaders of the community, and all trying to be safeguarding of the community, what do we do to try to make sure those situations doesn't happen again, and especially amongst some of the conscious community brothers who come publicly. They speak very correctly, they say a lot of the nice words, however, behind the scenes they're doing terrible things. What can we do to try to eradicate that kind of behavior?
Jeez. You want to jump in on this?
It's a hot topic and it's a good question, and I think it's far more complex than most people are going to give credit for. When you, not is the question, how do we prevent, that is the question, right? So not how do we punish, not how do we string up, not how do we bond, but how do we prevent, right? And in my humble estimation, that prevention only comes from systems of manhood, and understanding what it means to be a man. The issue is that we have a deficient concept of manhood that results in a lack of accountability among men, whereas in our indigenous cultures and systems, social order, men were responsible for being men, and they knew what their responsibilities were because they were initiated into manhood. And that initiation wasn't just now you're a man, but it made you a part of a community and sometimes a society, or in Kikuyu culture they call it a rika, a society of men who had certain particular kinds of responsibilities within a community, within a culture, within a nation, and so there is no accountability at the moment because we lack that community, There is, I should say there's no accountability. We're lacking certain levels of accountability because that level of community is yet to exist. Men are not being initiated into manhood. We're being told, we're being given ideals of what it means to be a man from a dominant society that commoditizes everything, and promotes misogynistic power relationships between men and women, and imposes this idea on manhood, or what it means to be a man, that access to young, young women, is a mark of manhood. And I'm gonna expand it beyond what you just said. Even a lot of the conversations that are in the so-called manosphere at the moment that promote the idea that that older women are useless and worthless and have no use to a man, and them kind of things there, promotes this kind of pedophilic mentality, also. Now the men that are engaged in it may or may not perpetrate the crime, but I'm saying the consciousness, the mentality, the ideas that are being promoted lend itself to that kind of thinking and that kind of behavior. But I just want to say finally, because I know I've been thinking for a while, I appreciate what the question is, because I have not said anything publicly on this specific situation as yet, because it seems to me that the conversation, even the conversations that is being had about it in the public space, is deficit to requirement, because way too much of it is focused on the individual, and too little of it is focused on the mother and her child, and supporting them, in this, right? I think that's a deficient aspect of this conversation also. A lot of it is about man them arguing over who gave this guy the most fireburn online, and who called him out from early and from when, and this is not a preventative conversation that we're having. This is about grandstanding on social media, and it's not really going to lead anywhere other than some more grandstanding on social media. So I appreciate the nature of the conversation.
I'm glad you said that, brother. Another other thing we want to add to that is how we react as men when sisters come and they actually report what has happened. And also after the fact, before the fact, that's important, because obviously in the past, some women might feel demonized and marginalized, and they don't feel they can come forward, and they don't actually feel supported, right? So as men, how do we fix our culture of caring for the victim, the victim before the evidence comes in? But as long as someone comes forward, we understand that some people might be charged falsely. But however, leading with that narrative when the sister's coming forward isn't the best thing, and it doesn't work best for our community harmony. So I think that's something we have to recognise while we're doing that. I think you also brought up certain men community groups that come together and they form new philosophies. And some of these philosophies, it might work when it comes to like a mixed collective. They might think that works. When you try to just collate black people, that doesn't work in our collective best interest there, right? And I think that I always say with black people, whenever you try to join other collective groups, whatever the ideology is, realize that after you shake up after a couple of minutes, couple of months, couple of years, you're going to start seeing the consistency of black people at the bottom and everyone lying at the top, right? So you've got to start thinking that some of these things that people tell you might not be for your collective best interest. And that's for me to add to what you're saying about these new manly groups that's coming together and marginalising women and saying elder women might not be good and all this kind of stuff, right? Which we will tackle out in future shows. And I'm sure the sisters will like that or not, I don't know. Right? But what we're tackling at the moment is how do we safeguard the sisters and the youth from predators in our community, right? Especially ones who are given high favour because of reported knowledge that they might or might not have, and being able to speak publicly with evidence and stuff like that. Like how do we protect them, and also added to that, how do we make them feel safe that they can come forward? And I think it's a re-education of how we treat, how as men must be seen talking to other men. Yeah, we can't have women. Sometimes I go into certain forums and there's hundreds of women back and forth and safeguarding each other. But there isn't too much men jumping in there saying, "Sister, we've got you." Right. So that's something that we need to acknowledge and fix, and hopefully we can discuss that as well.
So let me jump in on, and I'll speak to you, yeah? So yeah, in terms of like preventing and protecting, and I'm gonna go and be specific, preventing and protecting girls or young children from the molestation of predators. That's really the context I want to go into.
Yep.
And I'll say the beginning point is really the family. The family should be the ground or the foundation of safeguarding and protection itself. And the head of the family, and I'm going to repeat again, the head of the family needs to be the father. Because the father is the one, the father is the one who has that protective nature. The father is the one that should be able to highlight and spot the predators in the community, because they're going to be around the majority of men. Women aren't around the majority of men most of the time, so they don't really know men's nature. So we as men should be able to spot the predator within inside of our community ourselves. And we should be able to educate ourselves on how these predators actually move and act. And we need to put, in evolutionary psychology, we've got things called mate guarding and daughter guarding. We need to put things in place where we're able to protect the daughters and protect our mates from these predators. Because you know what it is, yeah? And it's a shame, because Brother Polight is a man that actually I would have called my friend. Brother Polight is somebody that I actually spend some time with. And to hear this, it broke my heart. I can't even lie.
Me too.
It broke my heart. I was like, nah, I don't even want to believe this. But when I heard the claim, let me put it out there again. When I heard the allegation that this took place, I went into my retrospective mind and I said, you know what, before even the investigation is completed, I don't deal with beliefs, but I actually do believe that this could have been a possibility where he did molest the child.
Right.
Why do I say this? And this is me as a failing as a man. Because me, going over into America, spending time with Polight, spending time in his household itself, I had acknowledged a young girl actually sitting on his lap. The young girl was stated to be his daughter. You see what I'm saying? I was like, no, this looks sus. But I'm like, it's impossible. Because why is it impossible? You have his wife there, you have his second wife there, and this is supposedly his daughter. You have other men in the room as well who's seeing this. So it's like, maybe this young girl is just being like, you know, I don't know. I don't know if you have daughters. If you don't have daughters, you can see your daughter might come, hug, and kiss you and so forth, right? But this young lady, she was of an age where it's like, it looks sus. Do you see what I'm saying? There's your son where you can kiss him on the cheek, kiss him on the lips at a young age. But after a certain age, you can't really do them things. It becomes sus, right? And for me, it's like when I look back at it and I see it, I'm like, raw. I looked at that as being something that's sus, but I didn't say nothing. Check it out.
Can I ask a question though?
Yeah.
In retrospect, if you had that time to live again,
Yeah.
what would you have done in that situation?
In that situation, I would have done exactly the same thing that I did do. Investigate. Like, who's this girl?
Right.
Oh, it's his daughter. Okay.
Right.
From who? Because like, I'm looking at the women that are there.
Yeah.
Oh, from his ex-wife or ex-partner.
Right.
She chose to stay with Polight when the other one left, when the mum left.
Right.
It's like, okay.
Is this his biological daughter?
No,
No, it's not about his.
It's not his biological
Okay,
daughter.
I'm just trying to paint a picture.
Okay.
So
Go on.
from that, the investigation, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I can't really say nothing was going on. I'm not seeing any sexual behavior taking place.
Right.
It was just the fact that this young lady actually sat on his lap.
Yeah.
And I was like, that looks sus.
Right.
Right?
But this is the reason why I'm asking you the question.
Yeah.
Because if I saw that
Yeah.
and I'd done my investigation, that's what came out of it, I'd have probably left it there as well. Because
Yeah.
like you said, I haven't seen anything more. That would compel me or require me or would justify me taking anything any further. And the reason why I'm high, because these situations are complex.
Yeah.
And when it comes to a situation like this, as a public guy and whatever, it's very, very easy for a lot of people to jump on line and say, well, yeah, fireball and lightning, you know, man for dead, and rare. But look, we all have people in our lives, I'm sure, that if somebody accused them of something like this, we would say, nah,
Yeah.
not my man. Yeah? You swear, nah, not my guy.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And somebody else seen that, I'm going to say, well, why are you defending the paedophile for? The point I'm making is, the situations are very complex.
Yeah.
Yeah?
And
And we shouldn't kid ourselves about the fact that they are complex situations.
100%.
Do you see what I'm saying? Sorry, go.
Now we take a question.
No, you could jump in if you want.
I think
Coming close because we got our mics here.
I think it boils down to the understanding of what we were talking about before. This is too complicated for just men to solve. It goes back to man and woman. That needs to be worked on first to prevent. It takes two to protect and raise and oversee and look after a child.
Because one could say, if the father was in the picture for the daughter, he would have been able to make guard his daughter and be like, listen, as a woman, and you seek a new partner, it's all right for you to be around that man.
That's my child.
But that's my child, and I'm not allowing another man to be around my daughter in that capacity.
And
you see what I'm saying? So in that sense, there could have been a safeguard.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's the whole thing as well. In African tradition, you'd agree with me as well. When you're married, you're married. We didn't have this concept of divorce and going to seek a new partner and starting a new life. Okay, cool, we're in this new world and we're with the times of today. But it goes back to the men coming together and establishing the sets of values. Like you were saying, I think you touched on that as well. It's about the men saying, this is a bit too much now. When is it enough? These kind of questions need to be asked. Whether we like it or not, this topic of conversation is underneath the umbrella of this black problem we found ourselves knowing each other for. It's a thing where this is a dead horse that's been beaten on for many years now. And to go back to the young lady that happened in America, it's sad to see that, because I think in the video, some guys even replied to her, said, what do you want us to do?
Oh,
that's something else.
That might be.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that was something else, but that is another issue. That's another issue.
There is definitely
Which kind of relates to what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Because in the sense of the fact that the brother said that it's not an issue that men can solve by ourselves. It's true, right? Because you asked, how can we stop it in the community, right? So I'm saying that presupposes the idea that there's man and woman operating in this vibration, and we can't confine male protection from what Kalam was saying. It only kicks in with the possibility of somebody being sexually molested or abused. That aspect of it will only function if there's a a role and a responsibility for men in family and in community in general, of which this is a part. This is what I'm saying. Like, we don't just become protectors when somebody's molested and we need to go string up a boy.
No.
Right? This what I'm saying. Like, you know, why what the brother said resonated with me is that there needs to be an understanding, an affirmation, and an acceptance of the role of men within family and community in general. You know what I'm saying? So that when we get into relationships, we know there are certain things that I'm coming to bring to this right now. Right? This is what I'm saying. And the woman accepts that and embraces that and understands that this is what I'm doing, as a man. And if I am not performing those functions, she has other women and other men who can hold me to account for what I am and I'm not doing. That's the only way it's gonna. And I know some of what I'm saying is not sexy, right? Because, like, this is what I'm saying, because it requires us to have to form some relationships, to be in some rooms and have some meetings and have some organization and agree on these things, to have some kind of, you know, basic standard that we're all trying to adhere to, that goes beyond burying a man under a prison, right? This is what I'm saying. It's way too simplistic, a lot of the conversation we're having at the moment. But it's the only way to prevent these things from happening.
I think one thing obviously we want to prevent before prevent. You know, is the best we're going to do, but naturally these things are going to happen, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
I think
well, not naturally.
It's
abnormally, yes.
Abnormally,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
So what I'm saying is how we react. Like you said, when you said it might be a friend, you might say, never him, right? Those reactions we want to try to control and get a template going, right? Because, like I said, because naturally we don't think that our friends and family are going to do that. Because we would like to hope that they're not doing that publicly, although you said you witnessed certain things that were suspect, right? I'm thinking we want to come in a way where we're not trying to like marginalize the people coming forward
100.
With our aggressive responsive, because we're not angry at them.
No.
We're angry at the concept that happened and it could have gone unnoticed, right? But we want to make sure that they feel supported. So I think that's one thing. But also, when you say things about the role of man, a lot of what's happening here is because that breakdown has happened where the man is actually no longer with the woman and a new partner is being picked. And I think in the culture that those guys described, she might have been defined as a wife. See?
Yeah.
So already, we say that when your husband, like, you have to go through certain kind of chambers to make sure this is the right man for you. But I don't know if the right kind of test will push to this gentleman. Because the thing you're saying, I saw online with a person who said it was his daughter years back, and I thought that was that mixed with some of the other things, with the scamming allegations of that, it made me think, okay, this is someone that we need to really watch and be careful around. And we can't be pushing him forward in these kind of behaviors he's doing.
You see what, let me say something controversial as well.
Go.
The controversial thing is, as I said, the man should be the head of the household, right? If there's a breakdown in the home, the man is no longer in that household, or the woman is no longer in that household, who should the child go to? For me, the custody of the children, as it used to be back in the day, should have gone to the man. Because the man would be best able to protect that child.
Boy, controversial, you said. Sorry, come to you, bro.
Come in, you have to come in.
Alright, let me ask this question.
Speak loud.
Okay.
Speak loud because the mic's pick up.
What is black culture in Britain? What is black culture?
You're moving the topic forward.
No, but it's not irrelevant, but
It is relevant because everything is cultural related and so forth. If people are walking up and down thinking what they're thinking in their head, what is it relating to? My opinion is this, my opinion is that. What is
why I agree with what you're saying is, well, you're not wrong, and I do get why I'm saying you're moving somewhere. It is related, but it's kind of probably beyond the remit of this conversation. You know what I'm saying? So we maybe need to have a conversation on that specifically. But I think where the brother is aligned is that even what you're saying, for that to happen, the only way that happens without contention is if there's a culture that whereby that is a standard. Yes. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even necessarily I agree with what he just said. What I'm saying is, and it's not necessarily wrong, I'm just saying that the only way that happens is if there's a culture whereby that is a standard. So that when whatever happens, you separate. All right, bring the them, and this is how we're going to formulate our relationships. So you maintain contact with children, and so that doesn't exist at the moment. So I see that's where you're coming from, right? And it is a very important question to ask. But
I could
yeah,
put it better myself.
yeah,
Yeah, there is.
you know what I'm saying?
May I say that to kind of connect on what you were saying as well, I think we've got to talk our language to each other if we are to get the message across. It's not something that's litigated or established in a sense. We're talking about the people, the man, woman and child that we have the duty of looking after. Like you said, in terms of the connection of what is black culture in these Western countries, A, B and C, when we're all mixed together in this bubbling pot.
That's right.
We are in a position or in a juxtaposition where we've had to sell our values and our stances on things to make money, or just to eat, or to feed the babies, or to even pay rent. You know, these things get in the way of what we should be valuing, and that's the problem with us. We haven't established each other as a people. We're just using the same label that was given to us. We didn't even have a choice to call ourselves black. So these kind of conversations, like I said, are underneath the umbrella of the big conversation that we still need to get through.
Now, brothers, you guys got a good place. Remember, whenever these conversations, something I'm aware of, is when the women are watching.
I was gonna
this
go on.
They'll say that we tend to take it bigger and bigger, and it's like we want a more simpler kind of solution.
Okay. I hear you.
Highlighted the actual issue of protecting women and children from predators.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to say. Yeah, can we go around the circle?
Before you do that, can I ask a question? Because and listen, you know, you're right, yeah, and I would say that in some ways that's part of the problem, but I do get the need for us to address that minute thing, right? But the point is, trying to just do with that minute thing is actually part of the problem in my humble estimation. However, and that's not to say that we should obscure the problem either. But yeah, anyway, I know somebody's watching and thinking based upon what you said, but sometimes the fathers are the predators. Yeah? Sometimes they're predators of their own children. Sometimes they're taking care of their children, but they're predators of other people's children. So what happens when the fathers are the predators?
What happens when the fathers are the predators?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, Nazareth. You're taking it to a next level, right? Because
You know?
obviously I would then say...
Odudua of Ile Ife. You know what I'm saying?
Let me say, forgive me. I ain't calling out no other gods, but African gods and Kemetic gods. Yeah, let me do that. Right?
We'll ask forgiveness later.
Yeah. So in that being said, yeah, I would say obviously that would go to the parents, right? The parents should be the guarantors of the parents.
Yeah.
But let me go around here, yeah, and say, what could we do? Give me something, yeah, that we could do practical to prevent and protect. Two different things, right? One prevent and the other to protect children and women from predators from being molested.
You want an example of each from everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think a promotion of rule sets that the community we can agree to, right? So sometimes when we see some of these bits, so obviously what's happening is there's a something that's happening in public with the polite stuff, right? And we can observe that, right? So I'm saying from that scenario, if there were certain rule sets, right, like how soon does someone's child meet their new potential father, right? And was that too soon or was it soon enough? Do they have to then meet the father of the child? All this kind of stuff, is this stuff that might be beneficial? And obviously there's mitigating circumstances like the father's in jail or he's destructive, so he himself is out of the picture by law, right? But the thing is, you said yourself you were uneasy when you met this individual, you spoke really well, right? So I'm saying, how is it that you felt this way, but there's so many women that didn't feel this way? So I'm saying, as a man. So definitely we need to have that kind of like, that guidance from a man. But how do we do? Do we protect brothers, fathers. There's a template that we push forward that says when a woman finds a man, we recommend that this man is pushed forward to the brothers, the fathers, which some cultures do anyway, right? Which we might not necessarily do. But it's really for the sole purpose of making sure he's not abusive. And if he is abusive, we have a template saying that you ring the brothers, the cousins, the uncles for this purpose, for this reason, right? It's like we're trying to literally prevent this, but we have to have tangible ways of doing it. And I'm saying that I reckon if you guys knew that individual, I don't think you would have allowed your children around them after seeing them. So how come some of us didn't see it? You know what I'm saying? Right, so this is
prevent and protect. I'm so beginning with prevent, I'm gonna say join and or support rites of passage programs that are instilling manhood in young men. I don't see any other way of prevention in my humble estimation, and I say that because I have that experience myself, but having working with other brothers and sisters who are doing that work, part of what happens is that the men who are responsible for rearing those younger men, the elder men, they have systems of accountability among themselves. I don't see this problem being prevented without systems of accountability among men, and women that recognize those systems, as well. In terms of protection, I would say there's a few things here, because there's protection prior to the event and protection after the event. There are definitely institutions in our community. One of the most popular ones is Sister Space, that is designed to cater for women who have been subject to certain levels of abuse, domestic and otherwise, sexual and otherwise. And I think that as a community, we need to, one, promote the work of said institutions more, and two, find ways of supporting those institutions so they have the resources to do more work for said women, Like I said, part of the issue that I've had with a lot of the conversation around this specific issue is a lot of it is not centered around, I'm not hearing anybody talk about where is the sister and her daughter and how can we support them? What do they need? Are they in need of anything? And how can we gather and provide whatever they need? They may not need much, right? But they may just need something. They may just need some words of support. You know what I'm saying? They may just need, a contact to a good therapist. You know what I'm saying? A lot of those conversations I'm not having seen taking place, and that's partly because I'm not hearing any institutions that are involved. Where can this young woman and her mother go? To receive the kind of emotional, psychological support that they're going to need in this time, especially with such a public case that everybody is talking about. So,
to kind of answer your question as well, I think the idea of preventing this ever happening again is what he said. We need to plant seeds of what a good man looks like so that it can be recognized. Because most of our sisters can't even recognize what a good man is. And that's the problem with lost in translation. So it's up to the men to fall in line and make it their duty to flood the community with more positive practices. And if it can be a traditional, even better. But the idea of showing, and the only way we can be leaders is by example. Is to be the example. When there's no hope, we've got to be the hope, right? So that's the only way in my
Let me jump in, right? I'm aware, and this is not my planning, that we don't have any sisters here. And sisters are always able to come down and join and give their opinion. But sometimes what happens is when men get together, we have a very manly way of thinking. So we need to actually kind of like get a mix of other sisters to inject. But what I try to remember is when I'm around women, what are the things they say when they're observing men? And sometimes there's confusion, sometimes they get it on. But I'm saying that even though my brother was correct what he was saying, how we react, especially digitally, to these cases is very important. And if we start seeing a flood of women saying one thing and men either not getting involved or a certain type of men getting involved to try to push the blame onto the woman, and not actually trying to, direct to the predator for this kind of stuff, this is painting the wrong picture. So naturally, we're going to bleed at some point into the idea that black men don't protect black women, right? Now, of course, black men protect black women, but it's more of what's been visually seen.
Perception.
Yeah, perception, and it's how does a constructive, righteous black man control that narrative?
Right.
And one of the ways is make sure that when we see this stuff, we say things, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But we definitely want sisters to come here just to give their opinion, because it isn't just a man thing. You know, the community is made of men and women. And so, you know, in the future time, please come down to that.
So briefly, can I just address that point? Okay. Yeah, very, very quickly. Part of it is the fact that a lot of us as black men, and we can all appreciate what this is. A lot of the time we feel attacked. Yeah, come back to what you were just saying a minute ago. Like, there's not a lot of positive out there in terms of what it means to be a black man, an African man, right? In this day and age. And so a lot of times the reaction that we're seeing is coming from that place. Yeah, and we need to, as men, get over that. Yeah, right? Because when we cannot call ourselves men if there are women in our communities that are being abused, right? So we need to come out of that mentality and recognize the situation for what it is. Yeah, however many sisters are being abused, there's way too many at the moment. Yeah, and we need to start with that understanding and not feel personally attacked when an incident comes up and there's a lot of flood to condemn the individuals who have perpetrated the crime. Take our individual ego out of the situation and respond as a man with a community mentality. I think that's the only way to really solve that initial knee-jerk reaction that a lot of us as men feel, right?
That's awesome. See, to implement some of the things that we're talking about, where would you begin? Where would you go in this country, for example? Where would you go to start?
Like I've already said, I would start with the Rites of Passage programs that I know that exist.
Yeah, but where? What specific location? Where?
Oh, so as in name some institutions.
Yeah, but where would you? Like,
As in the space.
You've got the space. Where are you going to go? Who are you going to go to?
I'm not understanding what you're saying now, because I think
Like, are you going to go to Tottenham? Are you going to go?
Oh, it depends on where they are. So as okay, your questions are the right questions, you know. But like I know that Raven's trying to keep it on a certain kind of trajectory, right? But I'm saying that where we see that there are people that are doing things, that's where we go. Yeah. This is what I'm saying, right? So there's no one location. Yeah, you've got people that are doing things in Tottenham, you've got people that are doing things in Brixton, right? You know what I'm saying? And I think that, but there's not enough people doing those things that those people are doing.
I mean, to add to what you're saying, remember you're dealing with a group of people that are fractured. Some people
Yes.
are going to be belonging to that which is going on, and some people are not going to be belonging to that which is going on.
And then the lack of belonging is a part of what's creating the problem.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that we need more connections, yeah, between people that are doing the work and the community in general. Yeah, we're not going to forge a cohesive community overnight. Like you said, we're fractured. Yeah, right. So where we start is that there are good people doing good things for our community. Let's start by just supporting them.
And
right.
let's give it to jump in. What we're doing here is part of that process.
Right.
Creating concepts where black people come together to work on solutions. So this people can see this in Birmingham, Bristol, wherever, to do the same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Digitally,
Or wanna get
physically,
involved.
spiritually. Yeah. It's how do you connect? It's a culture of connection, right? But brother, let me carry on.
No. It's Kalam wants to come in. Yeah, Kalam.
Because I wanted to talk about, you know, the child and the mother being blamed, right? That's one thing. And for me, no child or no mother should be blamed for anything.
That's true.
If we're going to say that there was a failing, for me, the only failing that there possibly could be is from the men. And I know again, it's controversial, right? If men are supposed to be the heads of the household, the head of the community, the head of the nation, right? All responsibilities fall down to us. And we should take that responsibility, is to say, as men in the community, we have failed. Not the woman and not the child. We ain't blaming no victims, right? It is us as men that has failed.
I agree.
And again, let's go back into the prevention. For me, in order to prevent these things, right, it starts with the basis, which is the family unit. Whether it's the nuclear family or the extended family. That's the starting point. Because again, we've got people like Brother Polight saying he's got wives. But in what capacity are they his wives? What institution is set up for the marriage to take place?
Yep.
What are the customs involved? Right?
What are the values?
What are the values?
Yep.
All those things there needs to be laid out. Right? So again, we need to actually be able to establish these institutions. If we're saying we're getting married, all right, cool. What are the rules for getting married? Right? Who is in charge? Who's the person that you can go back to? How do we going to do the mediation process? Right? Like who?
What religion?
All of those things there. And again, when you tied in earlier on to say the culture is the foundation. Shaka, you bust it out correctly. It's the foundation. Because if we're going into, see, for me, the problem isn't really with inside of African culture. It's inside of diaspora cultures, so American and Caribbean culture. Because if inside of African culture, there is normally a custom and a process that has to take place. You're gonna have to go as a man to the wife or to the intended wife's family to ask for their hand in marriage. You're gonna have to go through certain interviews to make sure that they can weasel out, that's right. What's the right word? Assess you correctly to know whether you are a man that's favorable for the family or not.
This is me addressing my generation because I'm 24. These are formative ages when you're engaging with the women, and some are thinking about marriage and these kind of customs. Exactly. One thing I implore our brothers: stay out of those comment sections. Get out there and start.
It's a good point.
Start actually looking at the world where you're at right now. It's not those comment sections or social media in general will turn you rotten. It will get you having a hardened heart. When really, these girls or women are asking us to open our hearts. If they are to want to talk to us, or if they are willing to be all ears to it. If we're saying we're coming in with these suggestions, these values A, B, and C, they want to first know, do you have a heart? Because, like I said, it's difficult to recognize a good man. Like my bro said, we fractured. We've dethroned ourselves. And the ones that are trying to put the crown back on are the ones that have to pick it up, get back to work. The ones angry that they're no longer listened to by their wife or A, B, and C, their daughters, they can't control their daughters, or these guys saying these kind of things. It's because they have to do the rest of the work to fix the culture. Because the culture is the basis of where we start from. If you're going to say you're a man and that's a woman and that's a child, that's a people. What are you the people of? You've got to define yourselves, redefine yourselves, in fact. As brothers in our generation, get out of those comment sections. Stay away. Don't even look at them. It makes you rotten.
Thank you, brother. Now, what I'm going to say is, with our corner, we're going to go through topics, so some guys will be at home, and by all means, if you want to come back the following week and have a part 2 of it, I think we've given our solutions and our awareness now. So unless there's anyone else who wants to hit and quit now, we're going to call it a wrap. Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
So, but we'll obviously come back to it, but that requires you guys to come back.
I'm having a good time here.
Titan TV, baby. Yes. COE, baby. Come on.
Let's go.
Back for a minute.
For a minute, fam. For a minute.
Yeah. You know, why is Somalia singled out?